I've never seen in my life more times hit by pitch come out of the game. I don't know if I got hit by a pitch here and there. I don't remember ever coming out of a game for a hit by pitch. But it seems like sometimes now you get hit by a pitch, these guys just walk into the dugout. It's
Right.
just, I'm out of here.
Right.
And you're
Yeah.
right, MRI negative, and then we're going to miss a few more days. It's the injury thing that drives me crazy, and I want to talk. But you know what? We've got Mike, the producer. He's going to queue up. Speaking of getting hit by pitches, it's been circulating the last couple of weeks. I don't know, was the anniversary of this, but I'm going to have him play this clip for you watching. Listen to the Boom podcast, watching it on YouTube. Check this out. This Albert Belle guy getting a hit by a pitch from Hasegawa, who was a teammate of mine in Seattle eventually. But Mike, cue it up. I love it.
Albert's last one came, 3-home run day, that is, in a Cleveland Indian uniform, and Hasegawa came up and in and hit Albert Belle. And Albert obviously not pleased, or did it hit him? Yeah, Ed Hickox is saying you've got to go to first base.
Oh, we've seen this in the past. There was an occasion where Albert Belle swore he wasn't hit by a pitch and refused to take first base. He's saying, I'm staying in the box. I'm not going. I think the ball went off his bat, but he's not going to first base. I can't remember exactly who the pitcher was, but he did not. He refused to go to first base after being hit. I want to hit.
Now this could get very volatile here now as he and Wahlbeck are in one another's face.
That's a bad man right there. That's a bad man. I remember that. I remember that dude. I wasn't scared of you. A lot of people were scared of you. I wasn't scared of you. But set that up. Tell us what's the story behind that? What was the game? You tell it best. You told me the other day. Go ahead.
Okay, so that was the turn forward the clock. We had these pretty cool futuristic, looking uniforms on, and I had hit 3 home runs that day. And so Hasegawa comes in the game, and I own Hasegawa. And I knew the first pitch wasn't going to be a strike, so I didn't know where he was going to throw the ball, so I just kind of stood there, and it just grazes me. And I was like, damn. I was like, I want to hit. I was like, it's been a while since I had a chance for 4 home runs. Like, I want to hit 4 home runs. So I tell them, I say, I'm not going to first. I say, just tell him, strike 1. You want to call it ball 1, strike 1. I said, I want to hit. I said, I want to hit 4 homers. And Wahlbeck kind of comes out, and I said, Wahlbeck, you go tell him. And I said, if he can't speak English, you go get the interpreter and tell him, throw the ball over the plate. I said, I want to hit. I want this 4th homer. And, I told Wahlbeck, fuck off. Like, let's do this. I said, I'm not going to first. I don't want to go to first. Let's play some baseball. I was like, we'll worry about all this other stuff later. So then that's when, Ray comes out and kind of wonder what's going on. And I was like, hey, I want to hit 4 home runs in a game. I want at least a shot at it. And he's like, yeah, I know. He said, but you got to go to first. And I was like, well, can you, tell the ump, like, basically, hey, just, give the guy a strike, give the guy a ball, whatever. I was like, I want to stay in the box. And, so he, we were talking to the ump. He's like, no, he said he hit you. He's like, you go to first. And I was like, all right. And so I get the first, and so then during the game, I didn't know if we were, I wanted one of my pitchers to retaliate, because, and then Chuck McElroy comes in, and because he, I was in center field, we making a pitch change. He comes in, he's like, you know what, don't worry, bro. He's like, I got this. And, but he comes in, drills first guy. And he stands there on the mound, like, daring the guy's like, hey, like, oh, you. And so I'm like, sprint. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I was like, okay, I got Chuck McElroy's back in case something happened. I want to be there. So, the guy just goes to first, and nothing happens. So it's like, okay, that's fine. I said, they hit me and we hit them. Okay, we're all square. So,
Right.
Back to business. So, and that's how we policed ourselves back in the day. And, sometimes you can or you can't, depends on the situation of the game. But, sometimes you get some pitchers, they don't care. They're like, I don't care what the situation is.
Yeah.
We're going to retaliate. And we're like, okay, thanks for letting us know. We'll be ready.
Because today it's so the umpires take so much control that they're really monitoring the throw. Like you said, in our day, it was an eye for an eye, and that doesn't mean any of us are ever happy to get hit. But I knew there were certain times where one of my guys drilled their guy, and maybe I didn't agree with it because the first thing I'm thinking is, man, I might be wearing one tomorrow. Now, if I did and I was hitting the butt and I understand and I respect that side, it's like that's what I would want my guy to do, to have my back. So I wasn't necessarily happy about it, but at the time I thought, all right, we're square, eye for an eye, it's over and it's squashed. Now, if it continues on, we might have a brawl, whatever happens. But that's how we monitored each other back then. It wasn't, people think, oh, these managers give, I don't know if some do. The managers I played for stayed out of it. It was those guys in the bullpen. And usually they didn't tell you about it. They just were talking in the bullpen, and they kind of have their own little group where they took care of business when
Right.
they deemed it was their time. That was my experience. Was yours any different? It's not like the manager calls and says, we're going to drill somebody. Usually those
No.
pitchers get together as a staff and kind of, behind closed doors, they decide on their own when they're going to take care of their guys and or be taken care of.
Yeah. Most of the time the pitchers will get together with the catchers or something, and they didn't really let position players know. It was between
Yeah.
the catchers and the pitchers. But I remember getting hit in Cleveland. Jose Mesa hit me, and it wasn't that bad. I knew he was going to come up hard and in. And he hit me and stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, but I didn't want to leave the box. I was trying to stay in there. And Tony Pena was behind the plate. He said, he was just, Mesa, he wasn't trying to hit you. I said, yeah, I know. I said, but I'm filing this away. So we didn't get a chance to hit anybody that day. So Jim Parquet, he was this rookie. He comes up to me the next day and he was like, what do you want me to do? And I said, remember now, if you hit somebody and they charge, you better make sure you can handle him because, he wasn't very big. And he was like, okay, I'll hit Omar. I said, okay, perfect. Because Omar was pretty much close to his side. So, first at bat, he drills Omar and he stands there and wait for him. And Omar didn't charge the mound. And that was pretty much it. They had hit me on one day and went with the White Sox. We came back and hit Omar the next day, and that was pretty much it. Nobody issued any warnings, but Cleveland knew it was coming. They hit me, we're going to hit somebody, and Parquet. I just told Parquet, just hey, pick on somebody your size, because if somebody charged the mound and they're too big, then it's going to be not good for you. At least you can handle Omar, while wait until we get there.
Yeah, these back and forth, and you know what I see now, because I'm sure you get this a lot too. There'll be a brawl out of nowhere. We'll turn on a game. Somebody's getting drilled for some reason. We don't know why, and everybody wants to jump to conclusions and say, "Oh, well, he shouldn't have hit him this and that." I said, "Wait a minute. There's always a backstory."
Right.
And we as non-players, ex-players, we're not privy to that on the ground in the clubhouse where those guys know what's going on. And it could be from a B game in spring training this year where something went down. That pitcher, that hitter knows exactly the circumstances. But us as fans and just watching the game, hey, why did he drill him? He shouldn't have drilled him in that situation. Well, we don't know. It could be two guys from the Dominican, that one guy was dating his sister and they had a bad date. It could be as much as that. We don't know. And everybody likes to jump to conclusion. I always say, listen, there's always a backstory. We just don't happen to be privy to what that backstory is. I found that a lot to be the case.
Well, here's another interesting thing, and I remember in spring training with the Indians, the pitchers would set up, it would look like a cushioned silhouette of like a hitter. And they would work on, pitching inside and hitting, they had to hit a batter, it's like throwing a big cushion. And, so, we kind of take a break and the pitchers be like, hey, watch this. I'm going to drill this guy. And it's like, boom, he drills the little cushion. And we just thought it was a big thing. And they were like, okay, let's switch the guy over. It's like a reversible. You can make him a left-handed hitter. And then, he drilled the left-handed guy. So it was an art that they worked on, and they didn't want to do. We didn't do head hunting. It was pretty much shoulders, ribs, down to like the knees. And I know we played a game with against the Twins, and Dennis Martinez, one ball got away from him, and he hit Kirby in the head. And I think Kirby ended up going blind. I mean, he wasn't trying to hit him at all, and we definitely weren't trying to hit Kirby in the head, but one just got away. And but other than that, most of the time when our pitchers hit somebody, it was pretty much like in the ribs or in the back, but that one just got away. So it's an art. And I see these guys nowadays. I was like, how are you that bad? Where you're hitting guys in the helmet? Like that's hard to do. And but these guys just don't have any control, and that's when you're max effort, and you don't know where the ball's going. So. But I saw a interview with Glavine, and it really bothers him now the way they teaching these pitchers. He says, "Well, instead of throwing 100% all the time, why don't you throw the ball like 90% of what you can and work on hitting your spots? Because that's how you're going to pitch longer into the game, and that's how you're going to have more success." And I was like, I know the pitchers back then they repeated that all the time, but they just keep doing the same thing, and they keep max effort, and they keep having arm troubles, and people are having Tommy Johns left and right. I'm just trying to think when we played, like who's the first guy that I really knew about that had like Tommy John surgery? I'm just trying to think. We went into the new stadium as 94, 95, 96. I don't recall hearing anybody having Tommy John surgery.
It's every other day now. I mean, it's unbelievable the amount of injuries, and I think today with the rosters and yeah, let's not the talent, the physicality of the player. They're every bit what we were. They just go about it a different way. But today with the playoffs, being 12 spots and a lot more teams make it to the playoffs, it becomes so crucial that your team, whoever that team is healthy. And I just see the guys today having a real tough time consistently, pitchers with the Tommy John, but also on the hitter side of just staying in the lineup to get to the end of the season, to get to the tournament in the postseason.
Right. And you know what? It's when you look at it right now, it's second half of the season, it's kind of hard to predict like what's going to happen, because these guys, and I'm sure, the next couple of weeks in July, we're going to see guys going down like flies, whether they're actually injured or faking injuries. They're just tired, and they don't want to grind. And, it's the dog days of summer, and this is when you have to be mentally tough. And, they just need a vacation. They have the Mike Trout where he's talking about happy 4th of July while he's hitting off a tee. Like, bro, like you turned a 3 to 4 week injury into like 3 to 4 months. So like, when are you coming back? Jacob deGrom, when is he coming back? Kershaw said he's coming back in the end of July, but he's going to have a setback in one of his rehab starts. But all these guys, like, they're ready to play in like September after you missed a bunch of games in July and August. So it's hard, and I look at like the Cleveland Guardians, and they have probably had the least amount of injuries, and that explains their record. So it's a matter of like who's going to stay the healthiest. But their pitching staff, those guys are basically going about 5 innings. Every now and then they'll go 6, but when your relievers have to go 4 innings and through July and August, that's going to catch up with you, especially by the time you get to the playoffs. So, some of these starting pitchers, they're just going to have to suck it up and start at least going 6 innings, maybe 7, and start keeping these bullpen guys fresh, because you're going to wear them out in the playoffs, because you're going to start, as soon as something happens in the 3rd inning, you got your 2 guys about to match up in the 3rd and 4th inning, because the manager's panicking, and the sabermetric guys are telling them what to do. So, so I just know like whoever's the healthiest is going to probably make the playoffs.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, health, I think more than any time in the history of the game is at a precedent, or at a is most important at this stage in 2024 in Major League Baseball. Uh, Getting drilled. You ever worry? People ask you as a hitter all the time, did you worry about getting drilled? I said, I never, it never bothered me. I never thought about it. I laugh when people in the game talk about, oh, Bob Gibson, if you look at him wrong, he'll knock you down. Roger Clemens, I got knocked down. Roger hit me in the head the first start I ever had against Clemens. And I didn't worry about it. Like, I used to laugh at people when they'd knock me down because all I thought in my mind is that's ball one. I'm ahead in the
Yeah.
count. And the fact that they think they can intimidate you as a hitter, it made me laugh. You come up and in, I know you're probably going down and away. So the last thing I was ever intimidated. Albert Belle, do you ever worry about getting hit? Could anybody get you in a frame of mind where you were a little tentative?
No, I love the crowd to plate. And the way my stance would look like, it's crowding the plate. I didn't have an elbow pad, but
You'd have one now.
what's that?
Would you have
Oh,
one
I'd have
now?
everything now. I'd
Yeah,
have
everything. And
basically, I'd be like,
multicolored.
yeah. So I never had an elbow pad. I just, I'm just like, I'll dare anybody to hit me. And, obviously when you're lifting weights, I'd get a hit in the triceps, and then I'd just go to first base and I'd start flexing my triceps. I was like, you see this horseshoe right here? You can't hurt this horseshoe. This is a horseshoe right here. I'm showing the horseshoe. So, but there is a small part, like right above your elbow. There's like a little tender part. And it hurts if you get hit there. But most of the time, it's up here off the horseshoe. But a couple times you get hit on that tender part, and it hurts. But with the adrenaline going and stuff, I was not coming out the game. You had to ice it, a couple times. But there was one time in the playoffs we were playing Seattle, and Norm Charlton hit me. He threw a split finger and it hit the top of my right foot. And it's like right on the part where there's no, not a lot of skin. And I was like, I was like, please don't be a broken foot. Do not break these bones. And I was mad. And, but I wouldn't let him know it hurt, because that was like one of the really like vulnerable parts of your body is right on the top of your foot. And, I walked to first, and I was cursing up a storm, and, good thing the adrenaline was going, because as soon as the game was over and I, kind of came down to earth, it was painful. And I know I iced like 2 times, in the clubhouse. And then when I got home, I iced the next day, and it was sore. Like I couldn't, that was like a playoff game that I missed. We were in Cleveland, and I missed that game, but we ended up going back to Seattle, and Randy was pitching. I was like, "There's no way I'm missing this game. I am not missing playing against Randy." And we ended up beating Randy that game, and Game 6, and ended up going to the World Series.
Yeah, pretty cool. Mike, the producer, he wants to know. He's in my area. He goes, you got to ask Albert about getting hit by David Wells. Is there a story about David Wells? Because there's something. He said he's got another video he's been watching.
Is that when he was with Toronto?
I don't know.
Okay, he hit me, and when we were in Toronto, somehow or another, we hit one of their players. I can't remember who we hit, and so I was like the first guy up, and I was like, okay, is he going to hit me, or is he just going to go after the young guys, Manny or Toby, right? So you really don't know. And he comes out, boom, he hits me, first pitch in the thigh. I'm like, okay, all right, I get it. So I go to first. Boom, still second, right? And Roberto's covering second, and he wasn't really close to the bag because I went in hard. And then I got another good lead, stole third. And, so I was pissed, and then somebody come up behind me and get a base hit, and I score. And I was like, that was it. That was the end of the situation. We hit one of their guys. They hit me. That was it. But I understand where David Wells is coming from. It's like, hey, you hit our guy. I don't care who you are.
Right.
And he was probably mad at me because I own David Wells. Like, I had really good success off of him, but he was like kind of, I saw the ball real well out of his hand, and he threw strikes. And, you know, he could move the ball around and stuff, but he really liked to pound the zone with fastballs. And I was like, well, I'm not going to sit there and let all these fastballs go. And, you know, the first chance I got, I was jumping on fastballs. And, you know, the guys behind me, they were like, you know, because he beat us twice in '96 in Baltimore. We had a losing record against left-handed pitching. And first game we faced David Wells, and I'm over here getting 2 hits and a home run, and he just mowed us down. And, you know, they were like, I can't pick up the ball. And I was like, oh, well, it looks like a softball coming up there. And then we faced him again, and I think it was game 5, and he beat us again. And you know, we're going home, you know, after we won 100 games in '96, and Baltimore ended up doing pretty good in the playoffs.